Hi sparkles of light, this is CherryEnchantress and this is your daily dust for Sunday, November 23rd if you're watching in real time, but it can also be for whenever you stumble upon it. It is a timeless reading. So thank you all who came out to my live. I go live on Friday and Tuesday nights most weeks. Sometimes a Friday turns into a Saturday morning, but most of the time it's Friday and Tuesday at 8 p.m. And so this was something that I thought of doing while I was going live. I talked about that I had some liquid sage, and I like spraying liquid sage in between readings. It's just like a burst of fresh energy. And then I thought, oh yeah, well this is one of the my favorite things to use when I don't have liquid sage is the Palo Santo. Palo Santo. I don't know why I always have trouble pronouncing it. I speak Spanish very well, but anyway, and it smells so nice. And the other psychic reader or tarot reader that was at the festival was using this, so it felt very cozy and back like I was at my altar. But I had the liquid sage because I wasn't sure if I would be allowed to use fire. Anyway, so that got me thinking. I have like the elements. I have fire and water. All I need is air, and I need earth. And so these are some really cool geodes that I have, and representing earth. So now I have, this is all my elements altar. Okay. And now let's get to the reading. We have two readings, one for the inner world and one for the outer world. I like to use the Twilight. This one is called the Lilac and Cherry Twilight Lenormand. It is from Ukraine, and there are two decks with all the same messages, the same wording and everything, but with different images. So one is a slightly shadowier, darker than the other. So this is the stars in the cherry deck, kind of chaotic almost, right? And the stars in the lilac deck, kind of romantic. Okay, so that's why I'm letting you have the lilac one, because it's a little more romantic. And we'll do the outer worlds for this heavy deck, because not to be all, that the outer world is gloomy or anything. It's just the energies are the astrological energies can be quite heavy. So that's why I look at it that way. But it can also be a good message. It doesn't have to be a gloomy or dark message. Anyway, it's just the easier way to separate the decks like that. So let's take a look at your day. It can also be clues to future dates as well. You can read it any way you like. Sometimes it'll give you energies that you've already experienced in the morning or the day before, something like that. So, and if it doesn't resonate, then that's okay too. It doesn't always have to resonate. But generally speaking, this is a message for November 24th. Okay, let's check it out. We have, the ring. Hello. Anybody getting engaged? So if you don't know, so if you're in a relationship of sorts and it's starting to feel a little more serious, then this could be the next step. Yes. If it doesn't resonate in that way, it could be some kind of business partnership. That's very good. Let's see more though. Let's check it out. Oh yes, the stork is moving up. It's moving in together. Oh, and the birds, it's all a Twitter. Everybody is a flutter and a Twitter about those. It's like all in your social media. Everybody's talking about it. Yeah, so for some of you, it could really be like your relationship is really blossoming, moving up. Talks of you guys moving in together, getting married or whatever. Just whatever. But for some of you, it could be like this amazing business partnership, promotions, and getting like higher pay, and it could have to do with communications or something like that as well. The stork is so good because it's just this feeling of movement and progress. I mean, the ring is really great too. The ring is contracts and commitments and cycles. And we are going into Mercury retrograde on the 25th, the next day. So it could be a very positive retrograde for you, like a cycle that brings about some positive change. It like revisits parts of your relationship that may not have been fulfilled before. I'm going to zoom on in though. Let's zoom on in. So I wasn't really able to zoom in the other way, like the overhead way, because my lighting is kind of funny. I have an overhead light and that would cast all these weird shadows. Anyway, I think this is very sweet like this. So I hope you don't mind. I'm just doing this a little later than usual, and also not that much later than usual. It's just like we have less light, that's all. Our days are shorter and there's just less light. And yeah, that's just how my day has been. I just get up, I do my stuff, I go to the gym, and before you know it, it's dark already. So the ring, like I said, is it's marriage, it's engagements, it's betrothal. It can be some kind of attachment, agreement, or some kind of cooperation, and it represents sort of a long-term energy. And then the stork is definitely like moving on up to the east side, to the deluxe apartment, the next stage in love. It's feeling very comfortable, family oriented. Children are, of course, the stork could also be like somebody getting married because they're pregnant. They're like, well, we better make a little family for a baby, you know. It could be, but it could be definitely babies and children and family. You know, it's just time to make a family, or time to start thinking about that. It could be that, you know, somebody's thinking, you know what, I think I want to make a family. I think I want to make a baby with you. And then your person's like, well, I guess we better make this legitimate then. And so, yeah, it feels really sweet like that. It's just overall very warm energy and kind of a moving up energy. And with the birds, it really is like gossip sometimes, but it doesn't have to be like gossip. It can be just positive talk, you know, communication, conversations. It feels very easy, good information. Could feel a little unexpected, like a happy surprise proposal kind of thing. And it can be just general chatter, you know, the chattering of everybody getting all excited. There's the other deck in this, and a lot of decks will do this with different cards, but with the birds, sometimes there's an owl and then the regular bird. The owl represents like kind of a wiser, more deep or in-depth kind of conversation, and the birds is kind of light, fluttery, twittery conversation. So it could be literally like you're on Twitter or Blue Sky. I recommend Blue Sky. Or you're on so it could be somebody talking on the new channel, or it could be all kinds of different social media channels, or text or emails or whatever, or in person with anybody you're talking to, just sipping tea and gossiping or whatever, or just chit-chatting. Or it could be like this, your person actually talking to you, and it starts off kind of small talk, but it could go into the proposal. All right, so that's pretty much what I have for you on your personal day. If it doesn't resonate, like if you're already married or you don't think you're about to get married, it could definitely represent, just in a general sense, a positive cycle and a leveling up in other areas of your life and good communication. Okay? All right, I'm going to move on to the next reading, and you are welcome to join me on that reading. Okay, and here is the second reading for the outer world. What's going to happen politically, or it doesn't have to be politics. It could be, it's been kind of fun to predict things, to be honest with you. I get a little thrill when my predictions come true. And so I am curious. So let's see. We've been having things kind of under the radar, secrets. I get hits here and there about different people. I've been thinking a lot about Russia, and I feel funny about how things will happen in that way. Like, okay, so there's a real, I watched a really interesting channel that shows astrological charts of like really high influential people in government. And it seems like there is a kind of a group of people that are somewhat like-minded, but they all have really big egos, and they're all very, very proud, like high hubris, like, you know, very arrogant. And I feel like every single one of those people in that group would want to be like the alpha male, and they're all kind of working together, but they're not really working together. You know what I mean? Like when you get a group of roosters together, you don't really get much of work done or too much agreement. Even if you're like-minded, the like-mindedness is how this whole thing happened in the first place, like the 2025 project, how these ideas came about. Everybody's like, oh, I like that idea. Oh, yeah, we should do that. But, you know, who's the chief? Who heads up what? You know, they think they're putting a cabinet together. They think people have jobs to do, but really there's people who want more power than they're being given. So I'm kind of getting kind of hits on that. And then when it comes to the Russian leader, he is very different from all of them. He's a dictator, and he's lived as a dictator, so he knows what it's like to be a dictator, and he knows what it's like for nobody else to tell him what to do, and him have total control. And it's kind of like, you know, being single, like he just likes it that way. He doesn't want to be married or be in a group or be buddies with anybody, but he does want to control people, like puppet people. So that's what I've been kind of thinking. Anyway, so let's see if the cards will say anything that we need to know. And there's just some things we might not need to know. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Okay. Oh, what's, oh my gosh, you guys. If you skipped pile 1 or chapter 1 and came to chapter 2, you're going to laugh. You're going to want to see chapter 1 because the ring came out as well. Okay. That is hilarious. Okay, let's see what else. Lilies. And child. This is very close. Okay. So in chapter 1, we had the stork, and we had, well, what did we have? The stork, and we had the birds. And the birds is like, you know, communication. So here we have, similarly, we have the ring, which is cycles. And so in this case, it could definitely be about Mercury retrograde. The lilies it's a very good energy. Oh, these two are kind of interesting. It's almost like alpha and omega, beginnings and ends, or ends and beginnings, because the lily is like the omega, or whatever, and is the omega, I guess, the old person, and the child is the young person. And it could be somebody is passing over the reins to the child, a new era, this new cycle where older people will die out and the new will come in and take charge. Very interesting. That's one way to look at it. The lilies is a complicated card, though, because it represents so many different things. The lilies can represent gurus and age and gestation and purity and sexuality and grandparents and old people and wise people. It can represent many things, and so we have to take into account that the lilies here is the cherry deck, and the cherry has a particular explanation. And these lilies aren't too hardy and robust looking. So these lilies, so it represents purity and selectivity and protection of higher forces, generally speaking. But for the cherry one, it's passion, sexual magnetism, exhilaration of the senses, and intoxication. So that's very different. It could be an old flame or old lover. It could be a winter spring relationship. So interesting that there's this sexuality here, and then there's this child, which is sort of innocent. So I feel like maybe it's going back to what's been in the news. It just saturates the news. And Matt Gaetz gave up his position, but it's not over. It's like, I feel like people are very determined to get this news out, the documents out, and sadly it's not the only. It almost feels like a can of worms, like opening up a whole ring of people involved in trafficking, minors or whatever, and so that's kind of disgusting and awful, and I don't like to talk about it, but to be honest, I like those kinds of people to come to justice, that's for sure. His friend that he had in Florida went to jail for stuff like that. And I've just heard bits and pieces of other people connected to this ring, in Florida or other places, or like the Jeffrey Epstein situation, and he was killed in jail or committed suicide in jail. And I'm sure it was to hide a lot of things. And so there's a lot of people connected in this disgusting circle of depravity, let's put it that way. And so the ring in Cherry is about strong relationships, deep feelings, mutual obligations, partnerships, expensive gifts, or inheritance. So these two together it doesn't have to be political. It could definitely be just sort of the shadow side of the first reading. It could just represent oh my gosh, because the first reading, it's one of the things that came out was somebody got pregnant, so let's get married. And this is kind of like the shady side, we had sex before marriage, and so let me put a ring on it because there could be a baby on the way. So it's still a similar message, but also it's like the ring is also this inheritance energy and the sexuality give me 8th house vibes. So something in the 8th house could be important to you specifically, or it could be the Pluto in Aquarius energy that's coming through. Pluto kind of unearths things that have to do with inheritance and sexuality. So money issues too and stuff like that. And so let's see, the child is innocent, and the lilies represents innocence, but in this case, it's kind of like a loss of innocence, or the lilies in this case is just passion. And so the child can be a new relationship. It could also represent a small person. It could represent carelessness, curiosity, sensitivity, vulnerability, and just being careful. And that's a good Mercury retrograde message. So on this day before Mercury turns retrograde, if you don't want to get pregnant, then be careful about your passion and your sexuality. But may not be the only message here. It could be it could be something even minor. It could be just a simple crossing T, dotting I kind of situation that you just overlooked. Be just even silly little things like remembering where you put your keys, remembering also rings. You seriously, when you're washing dishes, Set your ring at a certain place that you won't forget it. Be careful not to put it too close to the sink so it doesn't go down the drain. Things like that, like little weird details like that. They usually happen in Mercury retrograde. Like the stuff like where we flash in our minds, oh, what if, bad scenario. That's when the bad scenario sometimes happens. So try not to imagine it and then try to prevent it too at the same time. So imagine a positive outcome, and then also make sure that the positive outcome has every chance of coming true, and keep your surroundings safe and clear and uncluttered, and make lists and check them twice and leave early, and don't take chances, don't push the envelope too, don't be careless, in other words. So on this day, it's another personal reading, but don't be careless. But in the outer world, this is very interesting. I like it in the outer world too, because it could be like information comes out because somebody was careless and left something out in the open, or said something out in the open that somebody else picked up on and grabbed and was able to talk about. And it has something to do with sexuality and or inheritance, money coming down. So interesting. And if you have any idea, like if you have any inclinations of what this could be about, please comment in the comment section. I'd love to hear your ideas, your opinion, your take, your hits too. Like if you get kind of a psychic hit or something, it's exciting when that happens. It's sometimes when I watch other people's channels, that's when I get them. Sometimes it's like this, and sometimes it happened in the weirdest places, like in the bathroom or in the shower or in the car or something like that. But yeah, so yeah, I don't feel like it is anything really negative. I just feel like in your day, then just be cautious. And then on the outer world, it's nothing that's going to affect you personally. It is definitely like people doing bad things and facing consequences for them in the bigger picture. It could be like, things that happen at work, or things that happen around you with other people too, things that you may be noticing but they don't affect you directly. So good thing. All right, so hope you like that, and check out both piles. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Anyway, hope you like that. Faith, trust, and pixie dust.